All right. Hotel. Assalamu alaikum. Uncle Jahi. This is Jahi. And tonight, I'm just going to come to you, brothers and sisters, and just talk to you about something that we have to talk about. It's a meeting that I went to last week, and I want you all to just sit back and relax. You notice tonight, I'm by myself. I think I'm going to start doing these maybe once a month. So, Chaz, Brother Kevin, we're still going to do our thing. In fact, I'll start the announcements now. Chaz and I can be seen tomorrow. We'll be seen at 6 o'clock on Adults Only. And then this weekend at 1 o'clock p.m., Brother Kevin and myself, we're going to continue to talk about something that's very important. And we're talking about our history. So, brothers and sisters, I wanted you all to know that that song you heard is the latest song by Chaz and I. It's called Echoes. We don't have the copyrights to it, but you better believe you me, we are, because we're going to put lyrics to it and get that out to you so you can hear about how our ancestors always, their voices are echoing in our souls. So tonight, I want to talk to you about something that happened to me last week. Stay with me, please, because on last Saturday, I was at a place called Our Place Cultural Community Center, and there was a panel discussion, and that discussion was on reparations for African Americans. And boy, were we surprised at the end and throughout that discussion. On the panel was two very intelligent brothers with myself, Brother Terrence X, a very wonderful gentleman that is so sagacious and wise. And then you know my big brother, Brother Kevin X, Brother Kevin, I should say, Kevin Lewis. He was on that panel as well. And all we did was try to pour our hearts out to the people about the importance of reparations for African Americans. And we were all very stunned at the end and throughout the panel discussion, because there was a mindset that crept into that discussion. And I want to share that with you tonight. So please sit back, relax, give me your thoughts, because there was a faulty mindset, a faulty mentality that was concerning reparations for African Americans. And we must talk about that mindset, because that mindset is pervasive now. In other words, many people have that mindset, and we're going to have to look at that thought process and see what is it and why are we thinking like that. So let's revisit this thing. Now, when you're on a panel, you can't hog the show. So we had to share time together, all three of us. But tonight, I want to take my time and talk about how that faulty mentality concerning reparations is something that all of us need to engage in. First of all, let's answer some questions and let's talk about what this mindset is. Reparations, in the context of what we're talking about in the United States of America, they were saying at the end, many people started chiming in saying that reparations that belong to African Americans should be a global pursuit. Now, we didn't understand that. In other words, they're saying that we should join ranks with people all over the world and try to put in our insight to try to find out how we can help other people that have been enslaved. We're talking about other Africans from different places that went to Brazil, those who went to different parts of the world. And we thought that was weird only because we thought that we were going to be talking about reparations for the African Americans, which we do have a, a definite claim. And so we couldn't realize and we couldn't understand why is it that everyone now seems to be wanting to look at a global pursuit. Because the thing of it is, brothers and sisters, is that the people that enslaved us were here in the United States of America. So we have a concern, we have a right against the federal government of the United States of America because of what happened to us. And so what we need to look at, y'all, is why is it that we're beginning to dissolve our mindset into other areas that really have nothing to do with us? And so, brothers and sisters, we're telling you that African Americans, we should push back on this global reparations mentality. But they're telling us that we should not push back on this global reparations mentality, which basically says that we should not just look out for ourselves, but we should look out for other people who were enslaved. And those who have come to this country, many of them who look like us from the continent of Africa, from Mexico, from different places, they're saying we should all lock arms and join in this global fight for reparations. And I totally disagree with that. The brothers on the panel also disagree with that. But you have people now who don't realize that we're still getting kicked in the teeth because we should push back. They're telling us that we shouldn't, but you should push back. I should push back because this is taking whatever we're going to get. It's taking it out of our children's mouths. It's taking it out of our babies. It's taking it from all of us. And we shouldn't be so naive and we shouldn't be so silly to let people come over to this country and step in front of us or try to lock arms with us and say that they went through the same things that we went through. Because no one has gone through what we have gone through for at least 230 years and counting. No one has gone through the things that the African Americans in the United States have gone through. And so we have to clarify that, y'all. And so I want you all to know tonight that I want to take my time. I want to acknowledge you guys. I want to say to all of you, Imhotep, I want to say to you, good afternoon. I want to say to all of you who are saying Hotep, I want you all to know that we're going to have to stop this nonsense because what's happening is people are basically getting and stepping in front of us. And because of us not knowing what's really going on, people like us, we're allowing them to take what is rightfully ours. So we must speak up and we must speak out against the nonsense that brothers and sisters are saying that we should have a part in with other people. Because as I said earlier, it's because of what happened to our ancestors that other people are taking advantage of us. And so we as a people must stop this global mentality and looking out for other people because we love them and they have their own plight. They have their own grievance and we have ours right here in this country in which we are now living. And so let's talk about this because I think that many of us need to realize that not only should we push back, but we, brothers and sisters, should not allow other people to step in this fight with us. We should allow other people who were enslaved, they said, to get in on this catastrophe here in the United States. See, these are the remarks that they're saying. We're not saying this. I'm just putting them on the screen so that you can chime in and see how foolish, how nonsensical, how absurd this is. They're saying we should allow other people who were enslaved to get in on our catastrophe here in the United States of America. And myself, Brother Kevin, Brother Terrence, we say this is not the way it should be. But because many of us are not interested in looking at how we're going to have to fight on all fronts, brothers and sisters, just because someone looks like you, just because someone looks like me, that doesn't mean that they're for our best interest. And so we have to start defining, who are we talking about when we say that we should get reparations? We're talking about the African Americans who live in the United States of America. Now, here's the questions that we must ascertain, and we must answer these questions. The first question is this, and they ask us this question: who owes the African American reparations? People in Spain don't owe us a penny. The people in Brazil don't owe us anything. The people in different parts of the world don't owe us anything. It's the United States federal government, because they were the ones who abused us. They were the ones who misused us. They were the ones who worked our ancestors from sunup to sundown. They were the ones who redlined us. They were the ones who took our resources and took our skill set, and they took that and used it to enrich themselves. They were the ones who got over on us. They were the ones who owe us. And so let's keep our perspective in check tonight, because I couldn't say all this then because we had so much to talk about back then. But tonight, I want to let this cat out the bag and say, no one should step in front of us. And how dare you and how dare me not stand up to people who are talking about this global nonsense? We're not saying that you don't have a claim where you were enslaved, but we're talking about what happened to our ancestors. We're the right. We're the ones who get the right, whether they give us land, whether they give us cash, whether they give us checks. No matter what they give us, we are the only ones that should get it. And that's why we're saying it's the United States federal government. I don't know how to make myself any clearer. It's the United States federal government who enslaved our ancestors, who used our ancestors, who abused our ancestors. They are the ones. And if you don't believe me, the reason why we're talking like this is because there's a wealth gap in America. There's a great wealth gap, because most of us don't realize the difference between wealth, and we don't realize the whole idea of what wealth is. You see, your paycheck is not wealth. That's what we get every week or every bi-weekly or every month. So we are talking about wealth. What do we own, beautiful people? What do we own? And we don't own much, because I'm going to show you some things that's going to tell you that the wealth gap in the United States of America is so disproportionately leaning towards those Europeans that we are going to have to expose this, and we're going to have to allow people to know that we're not playing anymore. I want you to see this chart. We didn't get a chance to show this chart at the panel's discussion, but I want you to see this chart, and I'll read it slow. White household wealth is 20 times that of Blacks and Hispanics. Look at this line here, and you will see this line represents white wealth. And if you notice it, that line is skyrocketing. That line is going up further and further and further. But yet, if you look at this line right here, you'll see, brothers and sisters, that this line has flatlined. This line has gone nowhere. And this is why we're talking about reparations, because of the wickedness, because of the evil, because of the wrongdoings, because of the abuse, because of them working us for nothing and them getting rich on our labor. That's why we have a claim, and only we have a claim in the United States of America. And this chart should make you scratch your head, because you know just as well as I know. And I asked the people even last Saturday, if you don't believe me, call your uncle, call your aunt, call your relatives, and ask them to let you borrow $10,000, $50,000 to get out of a jam you're in. And you're going to find out real soon what's going to happen. In other words, they don't have it. And it's not their fault. It's a systemic racist ideology that kept us like this because of what they've done to us. And we must be men and women enough to stand up to the truth. And so this is why we talk about reparations in the United States of America. This is why we're adamant about who gets it. This is why your children need to know that we are the ones to get it. This is why all of us should be standing up and beating our chest, telling people we are the ones, if anything is ever dispatched and dispersed, we are the only ones that should get it. Stop allowing people to step in front of us and take that which is rightfully ours. We've always allowed people to kick us in the teeth. We've allowed people to come over here and abuse what our ancestors have done. And yet we don't even tell them that every immigrant that's in this country, let me be clear, every immigrant in this country ought to get down on their hands and knees and thank our ancestors for what they did to allow them to come over here and enrich themselves. See, this is what we have to talk about. But we allow these people to come over here because they look like us. And we don't realize that every person that look like us, they're not for our best interests. And I'm telling you now, all these people that's over here now arguing about the reparations, knowing that these belong to those who are considered as African Americans, and yet we say nothing about this. We allow no type of pushback on this. We have to push back on this, y'all. Who gets the reparations? Whether it's land, whether it's checks, whether it's baby bonds, no matter how they divide this up, who gets the reparations? We must be clear tonight. And I'm trying to beat a horse that's not dead, because I'm telling you now, if we don't do it now, we're going to find ourselves again on the outskirts looking in. Where were those people during the enslavement of our people? Where were the Hispanics? Where were the Africans from the continent that just moved over here? Where were the Latinos? Where were all these people? And yet you and I sit back and we treat them as if they should get something, but they don't get anything when they disperse and give this out, whatever it is. It's our people. It's those whose last names you can trace. It's those who you can go back to show that we are a people who are definitely in trouble based on the fact that we have struggled. We don't have any wealth. Our resources are depleted. And yet I'm going to show you some more facts and some statistics tonight. I want you to sit down and just take it easy, brothers and sisters. And let's get into this thing. Look at this. Why reparations for African Americans in the United States? You know, that's the question that everybody's asking. You shouldn't have to ask that question. If you know your history, you know that we were promised 40 acres and a mule. We never got that. All we got was beaten. All we got were whipped. All we gotten was those things that didn't mean anything. All we got were sold. All we got was just work from sun up to sundown. They worked us to death, brothers and sisters. And so this is why we're saying reparations. Why? Because of the wealth gap. Because most European children, when their parents die, they're going to be transferred some wealth that you and I cannot fathom. You see, they are set up right now so that when their parents leave this place, and many of them don't have to wait. This is why you see us always begging. This is why you see us always borrowing. This is why you see us always complaining. This is why you see us always with a handout. We don't have it, brothers and sisters. And so this is what I'm trying to get us to get into tonight, to say, why reparations for the African Americans? Because people in this country that do not look like us, they have so much wealth. I can tell you something now that I want you to fact check. If you don't believe me, fact check me. There are 6 families, European families, that owns 95 or 99% of the rural land in the United States of America right now. And these are white families. They own 90-something% of the rural land, you see. And we don't have it. And it's not because we're lazy. It's not because we're shiftless. We built this country. We put this country on the map. We're the ones who made this country great because of what our ancestors have done, because of their skill set, because of their mindset, because of their philosophy, because of the way they saw the world. In spite of the struggles, they put this country in a position that they have all this wealth, and you and I don't have it. And so let's have this discussion tonight, y'all, Please, brothers and sisters, let's have this discussion because this is a discussion that we must have. I must show you another chart. I've got to show you another chart. And this chart here is going to really help you and me. It's going to help us understand what we're dealing with today. And I'm telling you now, it's not a pretty chart, but this is a chart that's going to really rock our world. Now, stay with me and let me teach this first. I'll read comments. I promise you. I'll read the comments, brothers and sisters, a little later on. But let me set this table for us because right now we need to start looking at why reparations for the African Americans. Here it is right here. If you look at this survey, this is a survey of the Consumer Finances and Financial Account of the United States Wealth Component by Races by the Federal Reserve. This is the feds now. This comes out every quarter. This last one that I retrieved is just an example of Q3 of 2022. I hope you can see my cursor. They've broken this down into different sections. And I want to take my time and show you why reparations is for the African Americans. Why the African Americans are always complaining broke. In spite of LeBron James, in spite of the entertainers, in spite of all the rappers, in spite of all the movie stars, we're still, brothers and sisters, at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to wealth, you see. And this is what we have to look at. Look at this wealth component, and it's broken down in trillions of dollars. Please stay with me, beautiful people. I love you all. You mean so much to me. You are so dear to my heart. Just stay with me and listen to why we complain all the time, why we cry broke all the time. It's because a government that shut us out of the wealth that is rightfully ours. So let's look at some numbers. As the Federal Reserve, these are the feds. They give us this information. Here we go. You see it broken down in according to the so-called races. This other is Asians, but watch this. It's broken down in real estate. It's broken down in consumer goods. It's broken down in corporate equities. It's broken down in pensions. It's broken down in businesses. It's broken down in other assets. First of all, when you look at real estate, the United States federal government tells us that Europeans own 31.12 trillion. Stay with me, brothers and sisters. Please don't get off this now. Your children should even be in on this. $31.12 trillion worth of real estate. That's their wealth. Now look at the black. 2.75 trillion. I want to just throw up right now. But yet you think we have it. I'm showing you some statistics, brothers and sisters. You can go get it yourself. But look at this. $2.75 trillion. Look at the Hispanics. 2.69 trillion. Here's the killer. Look at the other, which will be the Asians. They have 5.34 trillion of wealth in real estate, and they just came over here not that long ago. So have the Hispanic, and we've been here all this time. And you mean to tell me we only have $2.75 trillion? Somebody please listen to me, because I really want you to see this. Consumer goods. These are your refrigerators. These are your stoves. This is your car. We can't even afford cars anymore. But look at this. White families and households, $5 trillion worth of consumer goods. Please stay with me. $5 trillion worth of consumer goods. Look at us. This is not in trillions because you don't see a one. You see a zero. So in other words, white household and families have $5 trillion worth of wealth in consumer goods. And look what we have, 570, because you got to put a zero on this, billion. We don't even have a trillion worth of consumer goods. So you see, this is nothing but highway robbery. Look at other people who've just gotten here and look at their gains. See, look at the corporate equities. We're talking about your stocks. We're talking about your bonds. We're talking about all of those things that people are sitting in the bank now drawing interest on, that's living off of. Look at this. This is going to blow your mind. White families have $28 trillion worth of wealth in stocks, in bonds, in savings, in the bank. Let's talk today. Look at us. 0.36 billion. That's not trillion. That's billion. Brothers and sisters, this ought to make a brass monkey want to cry. Look at other people, but look at us. They have $28 trillion. That's why when you see these sporting events, you see every week, you watch the people, the majority of the people at these games, they're paying big money for it. It's them because they have it. They're going to transfer so many trillions of dollars to their kids, brothers and sisters. Please stay with me. Look at this. Pensions. This is when you work for a job for many years and you retire, and then they give you a little something at the end. Will you look at this? White households have $14 trillion worth of wealth in pensions. Look at us. 1.92 trillion funky dollars worth of wealth. And you mean to tell me you can't sit here for an hour and listen to what's happening to us? You see, we're giving you stats. We're giving you facts. And we are just trying to show you that we don't have, and it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're shiftless. It's not because you're not a hard worker. It's because the money has already been calcified. The wealth has already been calcified. In other words, they got it and they run with it and we get the crumbs. Look at the businesses. Now, I have to take my time on this because many people think that if we spend our money in Black businesses, and please, I am not by any means trying to belittle, we should spend with our people. Let's get that off the top right now. We should spend with our people. Let me show you something. White private businesses, $14 trillion. Look at us, 0.360 billion. We don't have those kind of businesses. The businesses that we have mostly are mom and pop stores, or these are businesses where the father and the wife or the kid, they work, and it's not where they're hiring 500 people like these big corporate companies have, you see. So what I'm saying is we don't have it. Look at this. $14 trillion to our little 360 billion. It's not even a trillion yet. And so when you get statistics, you begin to put things in perspective. That's why we're talking about reparations, because of the disparity, you see. Let's go some more. Other assets, whatever else they have that's worth something. They have $21 trillion to our $1 trillion. And we brag about we have $2 trillion worth of spending power. That's not anything to be bragging about. That's saying that you're just giving, and we're giving our money to other people and enrich them. So let me show you something that's going to really blow the lid off this thing. And I appreciate you all who are staying with me. I totally appreciate you. We're going to do this once a month, but it's not going to always be on reparations and wealth. It's just going to be at when we have to talk, we have to talk. But let's keep going. Here we go. When you total all this up, when you total all these rows up, look at this. There's approximately $141 trillion worth of wealth in the United States, about $141 trillion. But look at this. White families have 115 trillion. I want to say that again. 115 trillion. Do you see that? Now look at what African Americans, Blacks. I'm talking about African Americans when I say Black. Because when I say other, this is the Africans from the continent, because many of them are well-to-do now, because they've come over here and they've stepped in front of us, and now they're our doctors, they're our specialists, and they're the lawyers, you see. But look at ours, $7 trillion worth of wealth out of $141 trillion. And look at the killing part. Here it is. Most of the wealth that we have as a people, which is not much, is in the houses that we have and the pensions. So that means when older people leave this earth, when Black older people, African American, die off, we're only going to be working with $2 trillion. That's a damn shame. That's ridiculous. And please forgive me for being animated, because I'm just excited, because I love you and I want you to know this. So we're only working with $2 trillion. Do you see that? And they have $115 trillion. So stop talking about African Americans being broke. Stop talking about African Americans being poor. Stop talking about us as if we are just lazy and shiftless when they have it all because of what they've done to our ancestors. And we're too dumb to see that this is a direct result of what has happened to our ancestors. We've enriched them. And now you're going to walk around here saying that we're lazy. No, we built this country. We're not lazy. And then these Johnny come latelys, they're going to come over here now and step in front of us. And look at this. The Asians and the Africans from the continent. This ought to make the other brass monkey cry. 14 trillion. They've doubled our wealth. And we have been here ever since the 14, 15, 1600s. Let that sink. You see how ignorant many of us are? And I'm not belittling anyone's intelligence, so stop acting like a baby and listen to what your big brother is sharing with you. They've just come over here. And these are the people who we buy hair from. These are the people that we get our nails from. These are the people that we enrich. And they have leapfrogged us. And they send their money back to their people in these Asian countries and enrich them. The Africans, many of them, send our money back to their relatives, I should say, and they come here and they repeat the process. And then they want to talk about us instead of kissing the ground that they walk on because of what our ancestors have done for them. And I'm going to get off this screen now because right now, this ought to make your hair stand on the top of your head. This ought to make you just cringe. There's approximately $141 trillion worth of wealth, brothers and sisters. Yes, wealth, not all money, wealth. And we only have 7 trillion and they have 115 trillion. And you mean to tell me you're going to say that other people, we should be looking out for other people? You done lost your mind. I can't say what I want to say. But this is what we have to do. We've got to have these kinds of discussions, y'all. We've got to have these kinds of discussions. And see, we look at this stuff and we don't want to acknowledge that most of us don't even have $5 in the bank. And again, it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's because the system that we live in has been set up when they have given people free land grants to come here. Free homestead acts to go to college. Before all this stuff materialized, people were coming over here for free land, and they used our ancestors to enslave them to get free labor. And that's why those numbers are like they are. See, these are the discussions that we must have. And beautiful people, I know that you and I have some issues with this. So I have to go back and I have to look at this. And I have to say something. And I want you guys to, you can comment. A brother says this. He says, but we should push for reparations here and globally, reparations secondly. Yes, because we're not going to get anything globally. Let's be honest. What happened in Portugal? What happened in Spain? What happened in Germany? What happened in France? What happened in Belgium? What happened in Russia? They're not going to give us anything. So we're not even dealing with that. They were not the ones. They may have been a part of it. Yes, they may have been a part of making the ships. Yes, they may have been a part of it in cahoots, but it's the United States federal government that owes us. And I don't see how we got this thing backwards. I don't see why we want to start looking out for everybody else instead of looking out for ourselves. Here's another beautiful brother says this. We need to take our reparations by force. We see these people don't want to give us what is owed to us. Yes, these are mindsets. And a lot of our ancestors never saw freedom. They said we would never be free, but they were. We have to teach our children what I'm talking about. We have to teach our families what I'm talking about. We've got to teach each other that this is a dog-eat-dog world, and they're eating us alive. And your children, my children, your grandchildren, my grandchildren, we're suffering because we don't realize that right now is the time for us to set our boundaries when it comes to reparations. We must set our boundaries. I just showed you some staggering statistics that you ought to be saying, oh my goodness, brother, I didn't know it was like that. But because you see LeBron James, because you see Steph Curry, because you see these football players, because I see these basketball players, because you see these rappers, because you see these comedians, because you see these entertainers, you thought that we were so well off as a group of people. And I just showed you, even with all of them, we have nothing, brothers and sisters. And it's not our fault. And those people that I'm talking about, they're in a certain class. They won't even acknowledge many of us. They won't even talk like I'm talking. They won't even help us. And yet we love the ground that they walk on. Brothers and sisters, I'm telling you now, we've got to do better. And it's fine. But all I'm saying is, he says Spain do owe us. that conquered Africa, America before the British did. Okay, I'm not knocking that. But what I am saying, I am not going to go to Spain because my ancestors lived in this country. And I do get what people are saying, but please don't start chasing after something that's going to be too elusive. We've got what we need in the sense of we got the people that we should be nailing right here. So we don't need to be chasing all over the world when you know for a fact it was because of this federal government that we are in the condition that we're in now. So I get what people are saying about all of that, but I'm not chasing after no ghost or no boogeyman when you got the people that you need right here. So damn it, stop chasing everyone else and grab the person that you need to grab from a perspective of we see now, brothers and sisters, that this is something that's terrible. Another brother says, well, when black-owned businesses hire black people for gainful employment on a massive scale, 98% is working for white-owned businesses. Give them economical power over us. Brother, I agree with you, but we got to tell the truth about the whole story. That's only a part of it. The money that and the businesses I just showed you that we only have about $360 billion worth of businesses. White people have more than 20 trillion. So what I'm saying is we must do them both. It's not that listen, if all of us black people quit our jobs, and I'm not trying to be smart or funny, I'm just going to just tell you what I'm saying. If we all quit our jobs now as African Americans, and we went to a black company or black business to try to get hired, they couldn't hire us. So what are we talking about here? I'm talking about what is owed us, brothers and sisters. And you just said it, because it's owed to us. Yes, the African American businesses should be putting back into the community. Yes, we should be supporting them. See, let's not get the data mixed up, because I know that I'm making sense. I know that this is plain. I know that this is a simple message, but we oftentimes mix the data up because we don't want to come to the grips that we have been abused, we have been misused, and now we have a right to talk about what's ours and nobody else has a right to it. And this is what I'm talking about. Brothers and sisters, please, let's do this thing right. Empress Yoni says, hello, family. Yes, we're talking about reparations tonight, y'all. We're talking about how I went to a panel discussion, and on the panel discussion, two other brothers and myself, which Brother Kevin Lewis and Brother Terrence X did a masterful job of laying the cards on the table, trying to express to the people that we are in trouble financially. And we were saying that this is how we can get out of that. But you had people in the audience who were African Americans who was talking about a global type of reparation, which I'm telling you now, we don't need to seek anything other than that which is ours, because that's going to be a headache. We can nail the people. We can nail the government that we live in. We see it. So we have the culprit. We have the criminal. We have the person in our sights. And yet we want to go out and help other people. And I'm all for other people getting their reparations. If you're from another country and you were oppressed and they did you wrong, then I'm for that. But doggone it, you have to be for us too. And this is why we should have more people from these other countries should be talking like me. They should be saying how important it is for us to get reparations first. Why? Because we paved the way. Our ancestors built this country. Our ancestors worked for this. Our ancestors were enslaved. They were the ones who did this. And how dare we let someone else, even though they may look like us? And I hope you all realize what I'm really saying, because this is not difficult. This is not hard, brothers and sisters. This is just many of us have been so destroyed up here. We don't even care about what happens to our grandkids. We say, well, we just need to do this and that. No, we don't. When I say this wealth is calcified, what I'm saying is this wealth isn't going anywhere. When I show you these numbers and you look at these numbers, you have to agree with me that we are in a bad state. I haven't shown you this one yet. Check this one out. Check this one out, beautiful people. Look at this. You see, you can't even see this little deal here. But this is the median wealth of blacks in the United States. And let me be clear when I say that. I should say African Americans, those whose ancestors were enslaved by this country. Look at this line. Look at other people's lines. And look at this. I'm showing you the data. What else can I do? Well, I can't do anymore, y'all. I can't say anymore. It's just that when are we going to be serious about fighting for what's ours and stop allowing other people to come over here because they look like us? Now, I love my brothers and sisters from the continent. I love my brothers and sisters from South America. I love my brothers and sisters all over the world. So let's be clear now. Don't say this is divisive talking. Don't say this is divisive talking. Don't say this is talking that separates us. Damn it, this is talking that lets us get what's ours, and we're so silly, we're going to say, Brother Jahi, that's divisive. How is it divisive? To let someone come over here and tell us and get in front of us and get something that belongs to us? That's not divisive. That's justice, brothers and sisters. And if you went to another country and if I went to another country, I'm telling you now, you're not going to step in front of people. I don't care if they do look like you. They're not going to allow you to do this. But because we don't have proper teaching, because we don't have brothers and sisters who's willing to tell the truth in spite of, because we have people who like to kowtow and sugarcoat this stuff, because we have people who are afraid to tell the truth, because we have people that don't want to look at statistics. We have people that don't want to acknowledge this. We have people that are so ignorant that we don't want to watch broadcasts like this and others that's teaching this. We don't have time for this. And so we're struggling. And so we see each other as each other's enemy. And we're not each other's enemy. Our enemy has put us in a situation, in a condition where we as a people are going to have to realize that until we begin to say it's the United States government that owes us. You can say all you want to about everybody else and everybody else's situation and all, that's fine. But they are the ones who enslaved our ancestors. And this is why we're talking the way we're talking, brothers and sisters. The United States federal government. And we cannot have that mindset that was at that panel, which was last week, people talking about we need to start looking at a global. I'm telling you now, it's us, y'all. And the brother says this. He says, that is not divisive. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. And he's right. He's right. He's right, brothers and sisters. He really is. Because wherever you go, I'm telling you now, everyone else is going to look out for themselves. But we're the only ones who give other people an opportunity to stand in front of us and treat us like you know what. And because they look like us, we forget that some of these very people are the reason, brothers and sisters, that you're not a doctor, that I'm not a doctor, that you're not a lawyer, that I'm not a specialist, that you don't have income. The biggest wealth transfer is going on right now. All the inventions, that's done. The Industrial Revolution, that's over with. There are no more inventions. Do you know that Mark Zuckerberg and these people that have this very channel that we're on now, that's a part of this, they go to their parents and they say to them, let me get $50,000 to start a business. Let me get $500,000 to start a business. And many of them, because I want to do another broadcast to tell you about the millionaires and the billionaires, because you think that because we see a few people that are this decadent veil, because we see them on TV, we think that we have arrived. We have not arrived. Most of our people are poor. Most of our people are destitute. Most of our people don't have insurance. Most of our people don't have health insurance. Most of our people are in a bad way, and it's not their fault. So don't think that I'm coming down on them because I'm making it clear. It's not our fault. It's the system's fault, because they put us in this situation. So please get your information straight. And if you haven't gotten your information straight, if you haven't gotten it straight, let me straighten it out for you again, because I think most of us need to see this one more time. We got to see this one more time. And here it is. Check this out. I went over this earlier. I'm going to go over a little bit again, and I'm going to let you go. This is a survey of the consumer finances and financial account of the United States wealth component by races, by the Federal Reserve. You talk about the feds, these are the feds. They calculated and put this into this information, you can get it. All you got to do is go to their website, IRS.gov, the federalreserve.com. Look, they separate it into different categories, and they tell you how much wealth, see, they tell you how much wealth that each so-called race has. And if you look at this, you would say this is unfair, because in real estate, which I told you earlier, 20, maybe 200 families of Europe, the richest 200 people in the United States of America, have more money than all of us put together, 46 million of us or so. Let that sink. Did you hear me? 5 white families have more rural land than all of us combined. Fact check me. Please write that down. Fact check me and look at this and see who owns what. See? So before you start thinking that we own something, and if you notice, even in sports and entertainment, it's not us that own these teams. It's not us that own these record companies. It's not us that own these businesses. Yeah, they'll put one of us out front to make us think we're doing well. And so we think that that's somebody's business when they're just the front man, you see, because all of these sporting events that we go to, all of these places that we see, these places are owned by other people. Yes, we make them money, but they are the ones who's raking in the big cash. Yes, we're playing ball, kicking a ball, catching a ball, throwing a ball, singing with a microphone. Yes, we're out there selling houses and doing things, and we have to, because we have to survive. So don't get me twisted. All I'm saying is, y'all, this ought to be an eye opener. See, I couldn't talk like this at the panel because most people at the questioning part would have said something, well, that sounds good, Brother Jahi, but what about a global perspective? I almost said something, and I know they would have put me off the air, but I almost said it starts with the letter F. That's what I would have said about a global perspective, because it wasn't a global perspective that worked our ancestors. It wasn't a global perspective that have our kids separated. It wasn't a global perspective that put Jim Crow laws into effect. It wasn't a global perspective that redlined us. It wasn't a global perspective that wouldn't loan us anything to get ourselves out of these ghettos, these dumps we're in. It wasn't a global perspective that have us in a situation right now. So we've got to stop this nonsense. And I'm telling you now, if you look at the totals, and I don't want to go over all this now, but I'm just showing you now, if you go over the totals of what each so-called race group owns in wealth, in terms of wealth, there's about $141 trillion worth of wealth, brothers and sisters. Not income. See, we get that mixed up. Income is what you earn on a weekly basis at your job, what you get paid. That's income. I'm talking about wealth. That's what we own. But if you look at this and tally it up, out of the $141 trillion of wealth in the United States of America, white households and families have at least $115 trillion worth of wealth. Look at the next row, the African Americans. Now, I should have put African Americans instead of Black, because we're going to have to do a broadcast about that, because this is so confusing. And this is why we're messed up, because if a person looks like us, we just let them in. So I should have entitled this African Americans. But if you look down here at the bottom, when you add up everything that we have about $7 trillion worth of wealth. And as I said before, most of that is in these homes that the older people in our families that they have, and then their pensions. So this means that when our older people leave this earth and they pass their homes on and they pass their pensions on if they can, that means we're basically operating off of $2 trillion. $2 trillion. I don't know how much more animated I can get tonight. So we have nothing is what I'm saying. And it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's the way the system has been set up and continues to run. But you need to watch these kind of broadcasts. You need to watch broadcasts. It's going to teach you this. Stop calling us lazy. Stop calling us shiftless. Stop calling us standbyers. Stop calling us idle workers. See, this is why you don't know and I don't know. And look at this. Here are two groups. This other are Asians and Africans from the continent, the Caribbean. Listen, now this ought to make you just say, oh my goodness, that's not fair. They have $14 trillion worth of wealth, and they just got here. They just got here. We've been here since the 1400s, the 1500s, the 1600s, and look at what we have. And you mean to tell me that you angry with me because I'm telling you the truth? You mean to tell me that you're mad at me because you see what's going on? You're mad at your relatives? You're mad at people that look like us? We don't have it, y'all. I just don't know how much more plainer I can get. And again, beautiful people, you are the apple of my eye. I love the ground that every one of you walk on, because I have to say this in love, because most people aren't going to say this. This is why myself, this is why Chaz, this is why Terrence X, this is why Kevin Lewis, this is why we say these things. This is why we do these broadcasts. This is why we always run in our big mouths. This is for you to let you know that your grandchildren, your children, we're in a bad state right now. And so all I'm saying, y'all, is we've got to get serious and know that we're in a bad way. Don't tell me about one of your uncles or your aunts that have a little chump change in the bank. I'm talking about from a group perspective. We don't have it. Most of us don't have $50 in the bank. And I'm not belittling that. It's because we don't have it. If you go to Chicago, if we go to Philadelphia, we go to New York, if we go to Connecticut, if we go all over the country and look at how our people are living and have the audacity to blame them for their condition when I'm showing you what's going on. When these kids leave our homes, we push them out into this kind of world right here, not knowing that they're going to come back home because they're going to need some help, because they can't afford to live by themselves. Times are different now. Times are totally different now. And all this here wealth has accumulated. It has amassed. And now it's stuck, y'all. And now your grandchildren, my grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, they're going to suffer because people like me and you don't want to come to the forefront and say, now is the time we must talk about this. And if anybody's not talking like we're talking, then you better get out of our way, because this is not for you. So whatever we get, brothers and sisters, this is something that's owed us. We're not begging for it. It's owed us. And we're going to have to realize that until we speak up for ourselves, no one else is going to do it. This brother says it's systematic, racist, economical black despair. It is. It is. We've been knowing this. This is not anything new. Brother Raymond is telling us this. We've been knowing this. Why? Because we've been living this. The first fired and the last hired. We've been living this. Always being let go for something that we can't control. Always being turned down. That's why we play the lottery. That's why we shoot dice. That's why we play cards. That's why we gamble to play dominoes. That's why we play the lottery ticket, because we're trying to get rich. We're trying to hit this thing, because most of these other people don't have to do that, y'all. They already have it. When these kids leave their homes, these European kids, they're set up. So when we go to college, we have to pay back to a bill that's out of this world. Whereas their parents pay for their whole college tuition and then give them money to buy a house, or maybe buy the whole house and car for them. And we're trying to compete against that. My goodness. You see what we're up against? So you can sit there and I can sit here and act like everything is going on well because you have groceries, because you have food, because you have a vehicle, because I have this and I have that. But as a group, we don't. And it's not, again, because of us. How many times must I say this? We've got to start looking at what's really going on. And brothers and sisters, this is what's going on right there. That's going on right now. And if that's not going on, I'm going to show you something else that's going on. If that's not going on, this is going on. And you're going to say, wow, this right here is going on right under our noses. Here it is. You see that? This is what's going on. This right here. And, it's simple. Look at this. White household wealth. I didn't say income, I said wealth. So just separate that. Wealth and income, two different things. Income is what we earn at our jobs every week, every bi-weekly, every month, or whatever. Wealth is what we accumulate. Stocks and bonds, you see, savings, land. See, that's income. That's wealth, I should say. Income is what we work for. Wealth is what we own, what we accumulate. Now look at this. White households, their wealth is 20 times. Listen, whoa, that's heavy. 20 times that of blacks and Hispanics. Brothers and sisters, I'm telling you now, look at this. You see this line here? This line is showing how they're on the up, they're on the up, the right, they're on the come up all the time. Look at us. Flat line. Look at that. Flat line. But you think we have something because you saw an entertainer or somebody that did something that's flashing gold and diamonds and jewelry. You think we have something. I'm telling you now, this is it. Brothers and sisters, I want to do this once a month. Maybe I'll let you know some other time when I'm going to do it again. But Chaz and I will be on tomorrow at 6 o'clock. I won't be this animated. I have a co-host. We're going to continue to talk about part 2 of drowning in negativity, how a lot of us are so negative. Please watch that broadcast at 6 o'clock. It's called Adults Only. This is called Jahi. And then Saturday, Brother Kevin Lewis and myself, we're going to get you ready for quote unquote Black History Month. We're going to go into detail about what is that? What is that all about? Who should celebrate this thing? Why should we celebrate this thing? What is this all about? These are the questions or the interrogatives that we must answer. We must answer these things. And I do want to say to Chaz and Kevin, I love you two brothers because you give me an opportunity to be a part of your world when it comes to teaching these truths. Every Wednesday, every other Saturday, second, first, and third Saturday of the month. These are brothers that's serious, you see. And I thank them for putting up with me because I know I'm a headache. I know I am. But I thank them for putting up with me because you have to be humble, brothers and sisters. And this is what I'm trying to tell us now. I love you all so much, brothers and sisters, that I have to talk like this. And please don't take this as somebody putting us down. No, they've already put us down. But they put us down economically. They put us down socially. They put us down materially. They've put us down from an identity perspective. I'm telling us where we stand and what we must do. We must not allow anyone else to come in this discussion and hijack it and talk about something global. Once we get ours, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about once we get ours. But we must get ours first. And those who come over here must acknowledge there should be a law when you get off this plane. When you get off the plane or however you come over here as an immigrant, you must first get on your hands and your knees. Now, I know you don't want to hear this, but I got to be honest. Every immigrant that comes to the United States of America should have to get on their hands and knees and bow down to their ancestors. Now, I know you don't like this. Everyone must bow down. Why? They paid the price for us. This is what I'm talking about. Brother Chad says, no problem. We appreciate you as well. This is what men and women do. We have these kinds of discussions. Brother Raymond said, we love you too, big brother, because this is what it's all about, y'all. I got to get out of here. You know what? I didn't gone over my time just about. I got to get out of here. So I'm telling you now, brothers and sisters, please listen to what we're talking about and realize that this thing that I'm talking about now is so serious. Reparations, rewind. Don't forget where you come from. Number Imhotep, love yourself. Love your ancestors. Love the fact that we are a people that are proud, a people with a great legacy, a people unlike any other people who have withstood the test of everything thrown at us and still going. Brothers and sisters, I'm out of here. I'll see you tomorrow if you tune in to Chaz and Jahi and Adults Only. And I'll see you this Saturday with Brother Kevin and myself. So please, love yourself. And And remember,